So let us start. Good morning to all the dignitaries. Chairperson Dr. Dilip Kumar Talukdar, Principal, Nagaon Polytechnic. Chief Guest Professor Anil Dattatreya Sahasrabuddhe, Chairman AICTE. Guests of Honor Dr. Pratap Singh Kakaso Desai, President, ISTE, New Delhi. Dr. Atul Bora, Director, Directorate of Technical Education, Assam. Professor Uday Shankar Dixit, IIT Guwahati, and Mark Darshak of Nagaon Polytechnic, along with Dr. Hitesh Tahvildar, Principal, Nalbari Polytechnic, Nalbari, as well as Mr. Kulendra Chandra Boro, HOD, Electrical Engineering Department, and Principal, IC, Udalguri Polytechnic, Bhergaon, Assam. Mr. Ranju Mahanto, HOD, IC, Civil Engineering Department. Mr. Mrinal Prasad Nath, HOD, IC, Mechanical Engineering Department. Mr. SHA Ajad, HOD, IC, Computer Engineering Department. Coordinator, Mr. Raman Kumar Bharali, Lecturer, Selection Grade, Mechanical Engineering Department. Members of all the committees, participants from different states of the country, and of course our esteemed invitees, the proficient, authoritative, and recognized speakers of this program. I, Dr. Aradhana Saikia Bora, on behalf of Nagaon Polytechnic, Nagaon, Assam, would like to extend a warm and hearty welcome to you all to the inaugural session of this online induction/refresher program on outcome-based pedagogical principles for teaching learning in engineering education, sponsored by AICTE New Delhi and ISTE New Delhi and organized by Nagaon Polytechnic. The 6 days program will witness the eminent speakers, Dr. Sharad K. Pradhan, NITT, TR, Bhopal, Professor Urmila Kaur, Education and Management, NITT, TR, Kolkata, Professor Pramod Kumar Patwari, NIT Silchar, Professor Dev Kumar Chakrabarti, IIT Guwahati, and Director Officiating CIT Kokrajhar, Professor Sunil Pandey, School of Engineering, JNU, New Delhi, Professor Mihir Kumar Purkait, IIT Guwahati, Professor Anup K. Das, IIT Guwahati, Professor Krishna Murari Pandey, NIT Silchar, Assam, Professor Devi Prasad Mishra, Director, NITT, TR, Kolkata, Professor Uday Shankar Dixit, IIT Guwahati, Professor Arvind Kumar Singh, IIT Guwahati, Professor Devendra Chandra Barua, Professor and Head, Department of Energy, and as well as Director, IQAC, Tezpur University, Swami Kesav Das, Sri Garun Das Ji Maharaj Bhakti Yoga Sangha. On attending the lectures of these speakers of high repute, I am confident that each of the participants will take home cognitive accomplishment and will be extensively benefited by the discourse. To start with the inaugural program, I would like to first offer a floral welcome to all our esteemed guests, Dr. Anil Dattatreya Sahasrabuddhe, Dr. Atul Bora, Dr. Pratap Singh Kakaso Desai, Dr. Hitesh Tahvildar, and Professor Uday Shankar Dixit. I request you all to accept the virtual floral bouquet along with an Ohomia Horai, a Japi, and a Gabuza offered by us. Now let us all invoke the Almighty at the outset of this program by lighting a virtual lamp. Let us pray to Him to grant us wisdom and keep us safe during these trying and challenging times. Thank you, Jahid, for the delightful virtual exhibits. With the virtual lighting of lamp, I would like to invite our chairperson, Dr. Dilip Kumar Talukdar, Principal, Nagaon Polytechnic, to deliver the welcome speech. Sir, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Please. Yes, sir. Please.
Good morning to all. Respected Dr. A.D. Sosrabudde sir, Chairman AICTE, Dr. P.K. Desai sir, President ISTE, Dr. Otul Bara sir, Director of Technical Education Assam, Professor U.S. Dixit sir, Professor of IIT Guwahati and Margdarshak of Nagaon Polytechnic, Dr. Hitesh Tawbildar, Principal Nalbari Polytechnic Assam, distinguished resource persons from different institutes of India, my colleagues here at Nagaon Polytechnic, and my dear participants. It is a happy moment for me to welcome all of you to this induction/refresher program organized by Nagaon Polytechnic, Nagaon, Assam, which is sponsored by AICTE and ISTE. The topic of this induction program is outcome-based pedagogical principle for teaching learning in engineering education. All of us aware that NBA accreditation of the courses run by the Technical Institute of India has been made mandatory by AICTE. NBA has given trust on the principle of outcome-based teaching learning. To get accreditation, we have to fulfill certain criteria laid down by NBA, and we have to submit our self-assessment report, SAR, to NBA. But the preparation of SAR is really a tough job. Without proper training and guidance from competent persons, it is very difficult to accomplish the work of SAR. From the formulation of mission vision to the preparation of course outcome, program outcome, and their mapping, etc., require a lot of understanding. We, Nagaon Polytechnic, also facing a lot of problem in the preparation of SAR. In the month of April 2019, a regional workshop of Polytechnics of Northeast region was organized by NITTTR Kolkata at Guwahati. In that workshop, a discussion regarding the progress made by different institutes towards NBA accreditation was discussed. Most of the principals of Polytechnic or their representatives expressed their problem in the preparation of SAR for their respective institute. In the said workshop, Dr. Dilip Malkare represented AICTE, and he agreed to provide financial assistance to any two institutes for conduction of induction program, giving trust on the preparation of SAR. Spot application from interested institute to conduct the program was sought, and Nagaon Polytechnic applied for this and got this opportunity to conduct the program. In this auspicious occasion, I would like to thank AICTE and ISTE for selecting Nagaon Polytechnic for this purpose. The program was supposed to be an offline, but due to COVID pandemic, option for online conduction of the program was given, and we opted for online mode of conduction of the program. We got participants from different states of India like Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, West Bengal, Sikkim, Tripura, and from the Institute of Assam. We are thankful for their participation to this program. Eminent personalities from institutes like IITs, NITs, NITAR, JNU, Tezpur University, etc. accepted our request to deliver lecture on different topics on this program. We are very thankful and express our gratitude to them also. I hope this program will help a lot to the participant in preparing the SAR and help their institute towards attainment of NBA accreditation. I once again heartily welcome all of you to this program and wish you a very, very happy and prosperous new year. With this word, I conclude my speech. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your encouraging words. Now, I would like next to invite Mr. Amit Kumar Bharali, Lecturer, Selection Grade Mechanical Department, who is the coordinator of this program, to deliver his speech. Please, Mr. Bharali, please deliver your speech.
Okay, thank you. Our chief guest has already arrived and he has joined the meeting. So,
Right.
with due permission.
Welcome, sir.
Yes. So
Welcome,
now I am.
sir.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Murali.
Okay, thank you. A warm welcome to this AICT and IST sponsored induction program on outcome-based pedagogical principles for teaching learning in engineering education, organized by Nagaon Polytechnic. Respected Chairperson Dr. D.K. Talukdar, Principal Nagaon Polytechnic, Honorable Chief Guest Professor Anil D. Sahasrabudhe Sir, Chairman All India Council for Technical Education, Honorable Keynote Speaker Dr. Atul Bora Sir, Director of Technical Education Assam, Guest of Honor Dr. P. K. Desai Sir, President Indian Society for Technical Education, Professor U.S. Dixit Sir, IIT Guwahati, Dr. Hitesh Taubilder Sir, Principal Nalbari Polytechnic, and Mr. Ranju Mohanta, HOD in charge Civil Engineering, Mr. K.C. Boru, Principal in charge Udalguri Polytechnic and HOD Electrical Engineering Department, Nagaon Polytechnic. Mr. M.P. Nath, HOD in charge Mechanical Engineering, S.H.A. Azad, HOD in charge Computer Engineering Department of Nagaon Polytechnic, and our distinguished participants from different engineering institutes. A very good morning to you all and wish you a happy and prosperous New Year 2021. We at Nagaon Polytechnic feel privileged for having this opportunity to conduct a program for creating awareness among the educators and develop the skills needed for implementing the outcome-based education. Outcome-based education is the need of the time to address the issues of responsibilities and evidence-based approach adopted by technical education. It has become a real challenge for the administrators of the institutes and especially for the faculty members dealing with many provisions of the system. There are many reservations about OBE among the faculty members and also among administrators across the country. Many faculty members are reluctant to implement the OBE. In fact, it is a human nature to resist any change. It is a form of cognitive bias, like an unconscious process of clinging to a belief system, even when presented with a more efficient way of doing things and solving problems. Changes may come as a result of crisis, as a result of choice, or just by chance. The change I am referring to is by choice at a level that addresses human resource development of the country. In ancient India, there were Gurukul education system and OBE existed in ancient Indian education system that was fit for that time. Present outcome-based education comes into existence after the revolutionary book by William Spady in 1994. I was not even born when research on OBE was started, and I was an engineering graduate by the time the revolutionary book by William Spady was published. And now I am talking about OBE after 25 years of my service in education. The point I am trying to make is that OBE comes out of many years of research and subsequent field testing. This system of education is adopted by many countries and is part of the accreditation system. In this backdrop, I request all participants to take their positions that OBE is the best education system that encompasses all aspects of education, and more importantly, it is mandatory now. Teachers are facilitators, and therefore the role of faculty members are wide compared to conventional education system. In this student-centric learning system, faculty members have to address graduate aptitudes like professional ethics, social and moral values, universal human values, environmental ethics, and many other aspects to facilitate developing human resource to serve the humanity. Human resource is the most important resource, and this is the only resource that takes care of all other resources in this planet. The industry-ready human resource can be well addressed by outcome-based education. Graduate aptitudes like professional ethics with social, emotional, and spiritual aspects are well addressed by All India Council for Technical Education and National Board of Accreditation within the framework of outcome-based education. This program will target all these areas of OBE except curriculum, which itself is a vast topic. Our program will continue for 6 days with 3 sessions every day. We have experts from some prestigious institutes of the country, and they will share their knowledge with practical experiences of implementing OBE in their respective institutes. It will be a great learning experience for all of us, and I hope all participants will be benefited by this program. Last but not the least, accreditation is a subset of OBE. If OBE is looked after in true spirit, the accreditation should not be a big issue. If we put too much emphasis on the accreditation for the sake of accreditation only, that might be like trying to get more marks in the examination with little learning outcome. NBA accreditation is one of the outcomes of OBE. So let us try to understand the core of OBE in this 1 week and develop the skills of student-centric teaching learning. So with these few words, I conclude and request all honorable guests and participants to wish us all the best for the success of this program. Thank you and namaskar.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bharali, for your informative speech. Next, I would like to request our guest of honor and keynote speaker, Dr. Otul Bora, Directorate of Technical Education, Assam, to grace the occasion with his address. Please, sir.
Okay. So, the organizers of this refreshers course and our distinguished guests, especially Professor Sahasrabudhe, Chairman AICT, Professor Desai from IST, Professor Dixit from IIT Guwahati, Dr. Tohbildar, Principal, Nalbari Polytechnic, the participants from the different states, as you have the principal as mentioned, and other speakers. Very good morning, and with a happy new year wishes to all of you. First of all, what I feel is, as the principal and the organizer has described, that they are facing the difficulties for uploading the SAR, self-assessment report, for NBA accreditation. So it is a very important, the subject, and very timely effort you have taken. And you see, for the self-assessment report, although you have said that you are facing some difficulties, but at the same time, you can realize that whenever you are teaching some subject, so why you are teaching the subject, apart from what and how you are teaching. So if you look at from that perspective, then every teacher should think before delivering to the students, he should know what is the importance of the subject, what is the social relevance of the subject, why it exists. These things should be resolved not only by attending some conference, but one will have to think himself how to address these questions. So if you look at in that perspective, then the things will be very simpler. But if you think that you have to learn some additional things for the NBA accreditation, it is not like that. Actually, it is actually integrated thinking. Now, you see, we have a long legacy. The educational system has a long legacy after the independence. So more than 70 years, we have a long legacy. Now, more or less, it has been recognized by the entire administrative setup of this country and by all stakeholders that the education system has actually failed to deliver as expected. Now, people are saying, administration is saying that there are problems of employability. At the same time, problems of unemployment, both are there. Now, if you see the broad concept, there is a mismatch between what you are teaching and what is required in the job markets. Even in the National Education Policy 2020 has tried to address all these issues, and certainly this is a transformative document and transformative vision. Of course, how it will be implemented, that is again a question, but at least it has conceptualized a transformative vision. Now, if you look at the NEP, that covers actually everything right from what is needed for the NBA accreditations, or what is needed for outcome-based teaching, or what is needed for the education system as a whole, why the education system needs a reorientation. Now, if you see, it says that the education should be holistic. That means you have to think from the parts to the whole. In an educational institution, as you know, you have your own subject as one of the course curriculum. Then you have a department, you have students, you have principal, right? Now, question is, everybody think in his own terms. Suppose a teacher is teaching a subject, he is focused only his subject. He is not focused whatever the overall institutional vision. So, also, the education should be flexible. As you know, the current education system, if we have a subject, then he cannot take another subject which he likes. It should be the multidisciplinary what we are talking about now. Also, we are saying about the character building, then critical thinking, inquiry-based, discovery-based, discussion-based. It is not that the teacher will come and deliver lectures in a one-way communication. It should be discussion-based. It should be hands-on learning and creativity and innovativeness. Then apart from that, it also focuses on the physical education, right? Then problem solving, logical reasoning, vocational exposure and skills. Also it talks about the values. Values means right from the gender equity, then from the human rights, and also the global citizens, global thinking. Because ultimately we are connected, all we are connected. Now we are facing the pandemic because it is already all over the world, it is connected issues, problems. Like that, we have only single atmosphere. We have a water cycle which is globally connected. So unless we have a global thinking in a local perspective, the problems will remain as a problem. So therefore, it is a very relevant issue that we need to impart the global thinking, global citizens. After all, we have to produce the global citizens, global educators, global students, global citizens. So it also says about the other fundamental duties as a citizens, right? Then including the water and the resource conservation. All we know what is the problem in the whole country. It has been already, Niti Aayog has declared the 0 days has started in many of the major cities of the country. That is the groundwater, you have a big crisis. So all these issues actually are in a vicious circle. You cannot resolve it in isolation. And education system has, particularly the technical education system, has got a very, direct relevance and importance. And all these practical life problems to resolve. And therefore, whatever we teach, you need to know what are the real problems in the society and how we are going using the engineering as a social system to resolve all these problems. So, if you look at not necessarily as simply the NBA accreditation, right? You have to think beyond, and with a holistic thinking, then it will solve all the problems of the society. including your problems, the growth of the institutions, growth of the economy, resolving the unemployment, all other problems. So in that context, I believe that this type of, the courses have got a lot of practical implications, and it is really the need of the hour. And Nagaon Polytechnic has initiated this. It should be followed up. It's not that some experts will come and deliver the lectures, but you will not do any homework how to really resolve your issue. Then the problems will remain the problem. But I think that it's a good initiative, and I wish that this workshop and this refreshers course will be a grand success. Wish you all the best. With these words, I conclude. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your encouraging words. We are really very grateful to you for what you have said. Thank you, sir.
Hello, I request Dr. Aradhana Soikera, our IST president will join any moment, so I request to give him the space within the gap, so that actually he has some other commitment. So thank you.
Next, I would like to request our guest of honor, Professor Uday Shankar Dixit, to grace the occasion with his speech. Please, sir, welcome to the occasion.
Respected Professor Sahasra Buddhe, Chairman of AICT, Dr. Dilip Talukdar, Principal of Nagaon Polytechnic, Dr. Atul Bora, Director of Technical Education Assam, organizer of the event and key person, Mr. Bharali, Principal of Nalbari Polytechnic, Dr. Tahvildar, and all other dignitaries, my dear participants. Most of the participants are from Polytechnic institutes of Assam and other parts of the country. I welcome all of you, and I am feeling a sense of satisfaction being the mentor of Nagaon Polytechnic that a lot of initiative has been taken by this polytechnic to in the field of education. So in particular, that outcome-based education is the need of the hour, as has already been stressed by our previous speakers. I would like to say one thing, that technical education actually has three main pillars, means three type of colleges. One is that ITI level, other is polytechnic level, and then we have degree level too, that there are colleges where you have degree, then bachelor's, master's and PhD. Unfortunately, of late, that we have not given proper importance to all type of education. Only the degree education, lot of colleges flourished, degree education was given lot of importance, but other education systems could not get that much importance. And that this has created lot of problem in our country. I remember that when I was a student, then that time doing a diploma was considered in a very good esteem, that if you are going for diploma, I remember that when I passed 10th, then one of my batchmates who was good in studies, he decided to join Polytechnic. Then my class teacher appreciated him, and he told before the class that he is taking a very wise decision because he wants to go to technical line and he will do diploma. On the other hand, we did basically this one. That was the situation, that if you are joining, many students used to prefer that after 10th, they will go for diploma. They will not go for 11th, 12th and this one. And then out of those, many used to do diploma, they used to get very good job. And then after that, some of them used to do degree also, of course. That means in many institutes, after diploma, you can get admission in the second year of BTech program. That was also there. In fact, when I joined the HMT in 1987, then I found that most of the senior persons, deputy general managers, even general manager, and other senior managers, they were from diploma background. Of course, that was a transition period. There used to be quite somewhat, if people used to, there was a feeling of envy among senior managers. They used to say in a sarcastic way, you are degree holder people, so you are just like, what is the problem? Are you are white elephant or something like that. But the thing is that I am telling that the situation was like that the polytechnic people, they used to very active in managing the affairs of industry. But then after some time, I have seen the gradual decay myself, that the importance of diploma education got reduced. And there are several reasons to these type of things. But one or two I would like to highlight, which are relevant for our participants. One thing is that that period was about the period of 80s, etc., was a period of recession for industry. Even civil engineers were not getting the job, and the machine tool industry faced recession in around 90s or something. We know that HMT used to be very good industry, but slowly people started facing problems in getting proper market. There was a worldwide recession. All those type of things were there. So on the other hand, after degree, people used to choose various type of routes. That some people, if they could not get job in industry, probably they will also appear in civil service exam and all those type of things. So one thing is, of course, the changing market scenario. Other thing is that technological developments took place. And what happened, that diploma education, which was actually supposed to be some stand midway. In ITI, we mostly teach these skills actually. And some amount of knowledge also is given. We take some classes. In the degree, most of the content is scientific in nature, and about maybe 60 to 70% content is related to basic sciences, and then remaining thing is technical skills. On the other hand, diploma stands midway. In fact, it is the ideal thing theoretically for setting up the industries, setting up, making the entrepreneurs, because here you just know the right amount. What is the use of knowing the second law of thermodynamics if you cannot make any machine or engine? And suppose you want to manufacture the engine, okay, maybe in some cases with second law of thermodynamics may not be needed, because that much analysis is not required, or any expert can do that thing. So diploma used to be in the forefront of everything. But then with the changing technology like CNC machines, etc. came. In those days, I remember when I was in HMT, as a part of HMT, I was taking the training classes for our customers. Then one very senior person of the some defense organization, he informed me that, sir, nowadays we are recruiting graduate engineers to operate the CNC machine. So I got surprised, because I thought the engineer is supposed to, manage, and they are in charge. So I said that, don't you think that you are under like this one? They said, no, sir, I have seen that other diploma people, they are not able to operate. So this indicates that when the technology changed, then probably our diploma colleges, they did not adapt. So this is one thing, that technology changing very fast, and we have to be quick to adapt. For example, that when pandemic came, and now it is no longer possible to have offline this one, but Nagaon Polytechnic very quickly adapted, and he said, okay, we will have the online this one, because online, it's not that, okay, it is online, that programs and meetings should be organized by IITs only, NITs only. It is that even Nagaon Polytechnic can do. So if the same curriculum, same thing continued in the mechanical engineering, although the CNC machines have come, but in the diploma colleges, there was no CNC machines. So partly even governments are also responsible, because the problem is that most of the polytechnics are under the control of state governments, and some state governments may not have given proper funding, and that is why good infrastructure could not be procured. So naturally there is a role of government, and it should be seen that according to changing technology, curriculum has to be changed, and accordingly the infrastructure also has to be made. Those type of things have to be done. But what is in our hand as a participant, even though there is one government, and the other thing is that so many colleges, many states government allowed to open so many degree colleges. Of course, many of those colleges are dying now, but there was within a period of 1-2 years, number of colleges came. So naturally the importance of diploma went down. If you want to reduce something, one line, you draw a parallel line which should be much bigger. That type of scenario happened. So many things of that type of have happened. Industries also did not realize. They said, okay, if diploma is available, degree is available, why I should take diploma holder? They fail to understand this point, of course, that diploma is something different, degree is something different. We think always in linear terms that I am a assistant professor, then I am associate, I am this one, I am assistant manager. So common perception becomes that one who is at higher position, naturally he is jack of all. But it is not so. And not so, at least in the case of technical education. ITI person is different. Not that if I have done degree, if I have done PhD, I will be more skilled than a person who is past ITI. So the thing is that diploma employability has distinct this one, and it should be done that way. So that is why this was also a problem from industry side, and now the industries are realizing that they in fact need and diploma holder. That is why now they are crying that our graduates are not employable. Probably the fault lies in their perception also. They don't understand that what graduate engineer is supposed to do, and this one. So that is why I am telling that from participant side, they can still improve the situation. Although the government has to do a lot of thinking, industries have to do a lot of thinking, industries have to come forward to set up that type of this one, and our government has already taken those initiatives. Why there is so much emphasis suddenly on Skill India? Because this should have been done about 15-20 years back, that we are not getting the technical manpower, we are not having good ITI persons, we are not having good mechanics, we are not having good machine operators, although we are teaching, producing so many graduates. And this one, once recently that in one Guwahati college in Guwahati, which is almost non-existent now, he asked me that, Dixit, you tell me that one thing, that why our graduates are not employable, that they are not getting job. I said, yes, I am telling you, because one person, he came to me from your college, and I said that, okay, you are not getting job, you work with me, and I will give stipend from my research grant. And I started giving him some salary. Now he was not able to make my PPTs also. He was not able to make this one. I was trying to write a book on engineering mechanics, and I said, you go and drop this figure. He was not able to do that. So the question is that, what is the, because I said that you are following the same syllabus, everything you are teaching, that which IIT, which is taught in IIT, same thermodynamics, same type of this one, advanced topics, computational fluid dynamics. So these students, they go neither here nor there, because those complex things they cannot understand. At the same time, they don't understand skills also. IIT graduate at least gets exposure of the softwares, MATLAB, etc. But your people are not getting exposure to that type of things. So it is important that when we are imparting the education, we should take care about the outcome, how imparting the skills. And it is very rightly said by the Nigel Bhalali when he gave the introduction about the outcome-based education, that we take care about all the aspects. Even the health is also very important. If you have a lot of knowledge, but health is not good, then the progress will be affected. So that is why this course is very important, relevant. It will give us time to space for introspection, I must congratulate Principal of Nagaon Polytechnic, Dr. Dilip Talukdar, for giving so much encouragement for organizing this type of program, and and of course Bhalali also, who because if somebody gives inspiration, myself and Dr. Talukdar both have been guiding him time to time, but ultimately he implemented it very nicely, and this program is being arranged. So I wish all the best for the participants. With these words, I conclude my speech.
Thank you so much, sir, for your enriching speech and also for your guidance. We hope to receive your guidance along the entire path of reaching NBA. Thank you, sir. Our guest of honor, Dr. Pratap Singh Kakaso Desai, President IST, he has arrived. Welcome, sir, to this online inaugural program, our inaugural session of our online program. Now, I would like to invite you to offer your speech.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, sir. Please welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, sir. Please.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
So it's my slot now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Honorable dignitaries present over here. Convener, the principal of this polytechnic, my dear participants, ladies and gentlemen. Let me thank the organizers for inviting me over here and giving me an opportunity to be with you all on the occasion of the inaugural function. I don't know whether it's inaugural or because as yes, so it is a function of a FDP and providing my views. My dear friends, going for FDP is a and this is because industry people are talking about the deterioration of the class and the quality of engineers what we are putting into the market, and according to them, they does not possess a skill, qualities, abilities which are required by them. Let me remind at this point of time.
His voice is not coming. Yeah, some internet problem is there. Yeah.
When I was there, he almost 100 and
I think it's getting interrupted. Can you tell, you just make a phone call to him and tell that maybe he has to adjust his speaker. Yeah.
I'll just check. I'll just check.
Yeah. Okay, now it's okay, but I think your speaker has something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Am I okay now?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, now we can hear you clearly.
Yeah, now it's okay. Yeah.
Okay. So I was just talking.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just talking about the global need of technocrats, and the entire world is looking at us. Yes, maybe because of 2-3 reasons. Number one, we are working with the largest installed capacity of producing engineers, technocrats. Number two is the benefit of demographic dividend what we are going to enjoy for another 3-4 decades. Reason behind that is estimated that by 2025, almost 64% of Indian population will be having average age of less than 25 years. And another meaning of that is the working population ratio will be increased. So that will be a major drive, a key factor that is going to boost our economy. By that time, the average age of the US population will be around 42 years. That of Europe will be of 44 years. China is again 43, 44 years. Japan is crossing 50. So whenever any nation, average age of a population of any nation crosses 40, then the percentage of a working population reduces, and that increases the dependency ratio of that nation. And when dependency ratio increases, that decelerates the economic development of that nation. And I think that is going to be a key element in our case, because we will be the youngest nation by that time, having average age of the population of just 29 years. But the biggest challenge, what I feel being an educationist, is making use of this population, making use of this youth. It is also estimated that by 2024, almost 260 million youth, it's not 2024, 2020, but it is past year. So almost 280 million youths are ready to enter into the job market. And out of 280 million youths, those who are ready to enter into the job market, 170 million youths are Indians. So it's a huge group which is now ready to enter into the job market. And toughest challenge before us will be to empower them with certain skills, with certain abilities, with certain qualities that will make them useful in the nation building. Unless we make them capable of contributing into the nation development, I think we will be facing a serious social problem of unbelievable scale. And that is going to be the toughest challenge before all of us. Making use of these hands, equipping them with certain skills, certain qualities. We have to make them adaptable, because to me, employability is a contextual. I have gone through many data or surveys published by some NASCOM or some Inspiring Minds. And 2 years back, World Bank also has come up with certain data. And World Bank says that only 9% of employment in India. And that is official document, TCNIP 3 project documents, because TCNIP is funded by World Bank. So when these are the figures, how can we just, because I think it was just 2-3 weeks back, and one of the conferences of FICCI was being inaugurated in Delhi, and one of the eminent leader was addressing it, and he told, I believe India, the 18th century was ruled by British people, and 20th century was 18th and 19th by Britishers, Europeans, and 20th century was ruled by US people, and this 21st century is 100% going to be our century. Yes, I do also believe that. I believe that we will be in the driving seat by that time in this century, probably, unless we equip our manpower, unless we make use of our manpower to the national nation building. I think dreaming such things is of no use. हमारे प्रधानमंत्री कहते हैं कि आत्मनिर्भर भारत, आत्मनिर्भरता is just not a slogan, it's a way of life. आत्मनिर्भरता, there are Mahatma Gandhi way back has said कि आत्मनिर्भर भारत अगर बनाना है तो आपको सबसे पहले number 1 you have to reduce your needs, and number 2 you have to have a substitute for import. We have when we this thing, we never imagined of such situation, and when we are still passing through the difficult time of COVID, but that has exposed our limitation. Because what has happened, almost 40% of our imports, are from China. Unless we find a fit for that, Unless we go for our own manufacturing units, and then without that, we just cannot imagine of Atmanirbhar. But I believe, yes, we have that potential. Yes, we have a way, and unless we those who are responsible for training our students, our teachers, unless we do our job to that level, to that expectations, then I think it's going to be a difficult task to achieve that. But yes, I believe we can do it. So, my dear friends, having a programs like this, skilling teachers, upgrading teachers, making them aware of what exactly is being happened around them. What new things are coming into the industry. Unless we equip them of such things, I think yes, that has to be, because teacher is the person who can transform that to. Teacher is the backbone of any nation. He is a role model always, and has the capacity to propel the destiny of the nation. And therefore, the lies on the shoulders of the teachers. The need of a time, and at a right AICT, the Professor Anil sir, for this particular project of AICT. I hope all the participants will have certain FDP, and I see all the support in all such endeavors. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for your encouraging words. Next, I would like to request Dr. H. Tahbildar, Principal, Nalbari Polytechnic, Nalbari, to offer his valuable
But the
speech.
moderator.
Okay, is it visible, sir? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Your slides are visible.
And audio is audible now? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So actually, when we are to face a NBA team, actually being Polytechnic at Jorhat, we had lot of problems, and these problems, how we solve actually, just we will understand with the help of the different criteria the NBA2 looks. And these criteria, I think most of the faculty members knows, because our government of Assam is encouraging us to
Having, so you just kind of yeah.
program level criteria, and other is the institute level criteria. In program level criteria, first criteria is vision, mission, and program educational objectives. And then program curriculum and teaching learning process, course outcome and program outcomes, student performance, faculty information and contribution, facilities and technical support, continuous improvement. And second one is in the institute level criteria, student support system, governance, institute support, financial resources, etc. In the vision mission program educational objectives, what we have seen when we faced the NBA team, that vision mission was defined properly, and we took into consideration the stakeholders, industry experts, faculties, academic council, department advisory committee, etc. when we prepared the vision mission documents at Jorhat. But problem is some points was not documented properly. So main important points the faculty members and who are going to face the NBA team should look is they should document whatever they want to tell to the, whatever they want to tell, whatever they want to claim to the NBA team, they must document everything clearly. And then vision mission should be displayed, communicated to all stakeholders, and we have seen that in some cases the students not tell of any team what is the vision of the institute, what is the vision of the departments. So the faculty members should take care. They should provide enough ways so that every stakeholders can be clear about the mission of the institute as well as program educational objectives. Then another important point that when we prepare the vision mission of the institute as well as vision mission of the department, sometimes it is seen that visions are prepared but not consistent with the institute. So when you prepare the vision mission of the institute as well as department, there must be consistency. And then vision mission and POs are also we are to now council for technical education. So although when we first tried to apply NBA in 2016, actually there was no outcome based syllabus. But in 2017, Director of Technical Education has revised the syllabus, and it is now outcome based syllabus only, and they are all POs again, I think it's time because already it's over after 2017. So again, it's time to revise the syllabus and considering all points of OB. Then in program curriculum and teaching learning process, one important point is every faculty members should maintain a course file. What is their lesson plan, or what are the classes they have taken, what are the different marks they have allotted for different skill. So all this should be noted and recorded in a file. And then they should also note how they will deliver the course. So there should be a clear-cut methodology for delivering the course. And then another important point is appropriate mapping of PO and PSO. Then content beyond syllabus, method to support weak students. And one important problem in our polytechnic system is at present our exams are conducted by State Council for Technical Education. Their questions papers are not CO based. That is one problem. That is why what we did actually initially at Prince of Wales, but that actually contradicts the overall objectives of outcome-based education. In outcome-based education, all mapping should be CO-based, and I think that with the new syllabus, State Council for Technical Education, Assam will take initiative to set their question papers based on OB concept, that is CO and PO based. Then Another solution actually we did at Jorhat at that time, because since SCT question paper are not COPO based, what we did we covered the COs in our class test. So somehow we mapped based on our class test, PO mapping was done, satisfied. So at present, I request all the polytechnics and State Council for Technical Education Assam to set their question paper based on CO and POs of a particular subject. Then another important point the NBA team looks is quality student projects and report writing. And although in polytechnics we do some practical level projects, but quality of the project and report writing is not taken care that much. So quality project and our students and faculty members together should try to publish their projects in at least some national papers, and that will actually a plus point for NBA accreditation. Then industry institute interaction, although most of the polytechnic, some we have industry institute interaction cell, but their activities are very important. So what are the activities we do from industry institute interaction cell? How many lectures you have organizations by industry experts in your polytechnics, in your institution? How many students have gone for industrial training? Whether you have done any collaborative program. For example, at Prince of Wales Jorhat, we did some collaborative program like preparation of induction motor by the electrical student. Then we did some collaborative program with CNC for CNC machine with Jorhat Engineering College. Like that, actually, there should be some collaborative program with the industries as well as higher technical institution. That smart is a key requirement. Then another important point is embedding professional skill and skill practice. And in polytechnics, actually, the pass out students do not get job because they do not know some, they don't have some professional skill. For example, a student passed diploma in computer engineering, they don't have any knowledge, say on special software like Java, AutoCAD. For civil engineering students. So this type of special course or some say motor winding courses, some electrical licensing course, say for example networking course. So this type of, if some special course can be arranged for the students, especially for the final year students, with the collaboration of with some local industries, and that is a very plus point for NBA accreditation. Then we must have some co-curricular activities like industry visit, participation in competitions, participations with different competitions initiated by All India Council for Technical Education. And apart from that, our students should take part do something for the society like blood donation, flood relief, tree plantation. They maintain yoga class, and in Prince of Wales, when I was in Jorhat that time, actually we adopted a remote village, and there we did many works like we did the sanitation in that place. We tried to make some filters with the help of civil department. To get pure water to the villagers. So this type of, if you can do some works to the society, even our electrical department has given some street light. So all this work with the financial help from All India Council for Technical Education. At the time, All India Council for Technical Education had launched one NECI project, North Eastern Quality Improvement Project. So from that project only we did this type of work. So we thank actually AIC for sponsoring that project at that time, and it is only for that project we got NBA accreditation at Jorhat. Then course outcome and about the program outcome, and we have seen that most of the faculties, many faculties do not understand clearly the concept of PO and COs, and some of the faculties of the department only work. One thing we should remember that NBA is a group work, and one of the PO in any technical institution is actually ability to work in a team. So NBA accreditation you can get if you have a team spirit, you have a group work. All faculties, all technical staff, even the attendants, all members of the institute should involve fully, and they should work together and they should form a teamwork. Then only it's possible to get NBA accreditation. And understanding by every faculty is important, but practically sometimes it is seen that only few faculties understand COPO mapping, that this work is done by this XYZ faculty. Other faculty says that we have not done that. No, because ultimate objective of OB is to identify which are the COs are not doing well by the students. So some you will see that in some COs students are not doing well. That means you have to identify the curriculum gap, and accordingly you have to take some measures to improve those chapters. So that is why every faculty should be equally involved in preparation of SAR, but that not happen practically. From my practical experience, I can say so that we should do. Then sometimes we see mapping problem, mapping of COPO are not appropriate, so we should take care of all those points. And one important point is tools, and those tools should be clearly defined as per the new syllabus, new curriculum, which was came in 2017. So this assessment tool selections are clearly defined by the State Council for Technical Education. So I think there will be no problem in this part. Then NBA team will also look very important student performance. What is the success rate? What is the academic performance? And they will also look the academic performance in the first year. So that is why basic science and humanities departments are also very important. Faculties of basic science and humanities departments are equally important, although NBA is given to a particular program, but basic science workshop, these are also very important. And then an important point they will look is how much placement you have given, how much students have got the lateral entry, higher study. And in our polytechnics, one actually problem is most of the students after passing diploma, they want to take apprenticeship training at Oil India. But practically it is seen that out of 100 students who attend apprenticeship training in oil sectors, they are absorb only 10%, 5% like that. Other 90%, they will come out after 1 year and they will be a baker simply. So that is why the NBA team told us that we will not consider in your placement data the students who go for apprentice training. So that is 1 year, so that is not permanent. They will consider only the students who got the placement, students who got the lateral entry, they got a seat at BTech. So they consider only these two. Appendix trainees are not considered. So that is why we should encourage our students go for better placement or higher study. If you are not sure that you are not going to get job after 1 year, then what is the only use of doing 1 year appendix? But of course, appendix training is required, but that is not considered by NBA team. Then IST, professional activities, what professional activities you have done, whether your institute have a IST student chapter, whether the student chapter is doing some work, doing some activities, whether you are doing some innovative competitions, whether you have a technical journal, whether you have a magazine, wall magazine. These points are looked by the NBA team. Then another most important criteria is faculty information and contribution. So in polytechnics, Assam, most of the faculties are qualified. They have MTech, PhDs. So this point was very strong when we faced NBA team at Jorhat. And then faculty retention is also was very strong. Then career implementation of career advancement scheme, Assam government has already implemented. Faculty performance appraisal, departmental faculty file, faculty training, paper presentation, product development, consultancy by department, community services. So these are the main key points where NBA team looks. And I think in Assam, most of the faculties are qualified. Faculty retention ratio is very good, and all faculty get career advancement scheme. Although now in new polytechnics, actually the faculty retention is not good because APSC process is going on. After the selection by APSC, the new faculties, I think this problem will be solved. So NB and faculty as faculty, they will consider only the who work more than 1 year, 2 years, and who are permanent. They will consider only those faculties. So when we prepare SAR, when we submit the pre-qualifier, at that time we should be careful regarding the faculty positions. Then they will also look the facilities, whether you have well-equipped laboratories or not, whether laboratories are critically or not, whether your workshop is well-equipped, whether you have a good language laboratory, whether every department have competition facilities. Ratio requirement is 1:6. I mean, for 6 students on computer. Then they will look if you have any additional facilities for quality learning. So in Jorhat, actually, we got opportunity to get a lab sponsored by some industries like Mahindra company has sponsored one lab completely free, and they train our students. So that type of, if you have some special lab, industry support lab, and that is a special advantage for NBA accreditation. Then continuous improvement, they will look whether you are working for continuous improvement of the academic as well as institutional environment or not. What actions you are taking based on the evolution of POs and PSOs. Then whether you are taking some measures to improve the placement and higher studies or not, whether you are doing internal academic audit, whether you are implementing finishing school training, whether new facilities are created in the departments, whether you have taken feedback, whether you are analyzing the feedback properly or not, what is the methodology you are using to analyze your feedback, and after analysis, whether you have given some constructive suggestion to the weak faculties how to improve their teaching learning process. Then whether you are taking feedback on facilities. So feedback on facilities are very important, especially the alumni, pass out students who have, and mainly the recently pass out students who join in industry, they can say that these are the facilities we could not get in our develop. Then the student like mentoring EDP cell are important. Then also they will look some more points like BOG, which is not available in Polytechnic. That is actually one requirement of NBA team. Then they will look the different minutes in the records or not, and whether every department has allotted some budgets or not. So these are the main points they will look. And at the last, just I am going to conclude, and that overall just I am putting a summary that what they will check. So those slides I will share, and you can even talk offline also. I think with this I will finish because time may be over. Thank you very much. Any question, please?
Yeah, okay, so we should move ahead. Yes, yes, Dr. Sakia. Yeah,
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you so much, sir,
Yeah.
for sharing your experience with us. I think every one of us who are hoping for gaining NBA accreditation will be very much benefited by your speech. So next, I would like to request our venerable chief guest, Dr. Anil Dattare Sahasrabuddhi sir, to present his speech. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Aradhana Saikya ji, my friend Dr. P.K. Desai, Dr. Uday Dikshit, Dr. Atul Bora, Dr. Talukdar, Dr. Amin Barali, Tahvildar, who have all spoken before me, and all the expert speakers, faculty members who are associated with this 1 week very important workshop, which is very, very important during this time when AICT has made the accreditation mandatory for all the institutions. And therefore, it is very timely, and people who are experts in this, who have been guiding other institutions, mentors, they are all there as experts for taking different sessions. I'm sure this institute, which is Nagaon Polytechnic, as well as Nalbari Polytechnic, will make use of this opportunity in order to create themselves into accredited institutions in the near future. So my all the best wishes for a Happy New Year, as well as in advance Happy Bihu, which is coming around the corner, very close. So I think we will not be probably meeting in the next 10 days. So in advance, I'm wishing Happy Bihu as well. AICT made this mandatory because of two parts actually. First, accreditation is based on outcome-based education. So once you start following outcome-based education, which is what Dr. Atul Bora rightly had pointed out in the beginning, that if you follow outcome-based education in the right spirit, accreditation is a natural corollary of that. You don't have to worry about issues which Professor Tahvildar was saying what not to do and why something fails. And why teams come and say this is not acceptable, that is not acceptable. The reason is we have not integrated everyone into the system. It is a process which involves students, faculty, heads of the department, principal, including the society in and around industry. They are all participants in this whole process. So it's an ongoing, continuous improvement process. Once we get accreditation, doesn't mean that now we should sleep. It's a continuous improvement which an institution has to struggle to continue to excel from what they are to better and better levels. And that is what happens only when everyone is involved. It's a teamwork, rightly pointed out. I think that is why AICT has created what is known as a program called mentorship program or Margdarshak and Margdarshan program, under which experts go and they meet people, faculty, institutions, and then they will all discuss with them and then improve the situation in a particular institution. And that's why this particular scheme is very, very significant and important. Let me come to the 12 graduate attributes which are important for our own institution and how we can relate them to various other aspects of what we call outcome-based education. Why is it called outcome-based education? That is because the outcomes are ones which are desired by the stakeholders. And who are the stakeholders? The stakeholders start from students, which are very important stakeholders. There are aspirations from the students that after I graduate, I will get a good job. My parents will be satisfied that I will be able to feed them. I think these are his aspirations or her aspirations when they come in as a student. The aspirations of the teacher is that I will teach my students so well that they will not only be employable, some of them will become entrepreneurs, they will create startups, and my family also is going to be supported because I get salary from this institution. How do I improve it? How the rating of the institution, not just for accreditation, but also in national institutional ranking framework or innovation ranking. If my institution name comes, I will feel proud. I will tell the relatives and friends that my institution is doing well. That is the expectation of a faculty member, and same is that of the management, is that of the principal. Now coming to industry always has only one target, that our graduates who are coming out, they will be employing them, and therefore they have to be employable. That means they must be ready to work right from day one. I think this is where sometimes there is a difference of opinion between the industry friends and the institutions, especially academicians, because academicians prepare students for lifelong creativity, learning, innovation, research, etc., and not for immediate small time work. Of course, that is also required, no doubt about it, but that varies from industry to industry. If a student from mechanical engineering gets into an IT industry, the nature of job is different from if he goes into an automobile industry to a different industry like a steel industry or into a power plant. So each one of them are quite different. And therefore, an institution cannot train a student in all of this. Of course, Dr. Uday Dikshit gave some examples which are very valid and important, that some hard skills are certainly to be acquired when students are in the institution. It is not that they should be dry, but it doesn't mean that they can be totally experts in all variety of engineering domain under which they are going to be trained. They will be master of some, and somewhere they know generic knowledge. But what is required is more important skill sets which are there part of the graduate attributes. They must be fully prepared. And one of them, the last one I am taking first, is the lifelong learning. The lifelong learning is the most fundamental one because what Dikshit said or others said, technologies are rapidly changing. What is there today when they are in the Polytechnic for 3 years is no more valid after about a couple of years. In engineering colleges, 4 years program after they graduate, what they were taught is no more existing and something else has occurred, and therefore they need to learn that. They cannot say that it was not in our curriculum, our university did not have, our DT had not changed the syllabus, and therefore I do not know this, my teacher did not teach this. This will not work in the industry. They must be prepared to learn on their own, and that's why that lifelong learning philosophy, which is there in the graduate attributes, is the most fundamental, most important thing which we have to remember. Therefore, in our curriculum, there must be passages where we will give some important, a topic from a research journal and say that you study on your own and come back. He will say, I didn't understand. Read it again. Again, when he comes back, he will have some understanding of that. And therefore, there is a difference between information and knowledge. And that is another important area where teachers have a great role to play. Because many times students today, because of the rapid expansion of technology, internet availability, a lot of things are available on the internet, and therefore what you are going to teach in the class, student probably would have watched a video, would have seen this, some kind of an experiment, some theory about it, and so he feels that he knows everything. And therefore, many times he is misguided because he knows part of it, certainly, yes, but sometimes he is not fully aware of the principles behind that and where it is applied, and therefore knowledge is not merely information. Information has to be distilled in the form of knowledge, and some of the fundamental foundational principles have to be narrated in the classrooms, giving some concrete examples of the practice in the industry. And then that will become what is known as wisdom. From knowledge, it becomes wisdom. And then a student is then capable of application of that knowledge to the practical field. Sometimes not necessarily only to his field, it may be to a parallel field. A mechanical engineer may give a solution to a chemical engineering problem. A chemical engineering student may give a solution to an electronics problem. See, these are the things where we talk about interdisciplinarity, transdisciplinarity in the new education policy. Those kind of elements have to be done. And therefore, the project which students do, whether it is in 3-year diploma program or 4-year engineering program in the last year, is very significant. All that knowledge which you have gained, all that wisdom from the faculty member that you have earned, how do you apply it to a practical problem actually? And that is where some of the issues in the accreditation, our friend Kapil Dar was telling that they had taken a village where they adopted, went there and solved certain problems. This is where students will start realizing what is known as the next aspect of the 12 graduate attributes is problem analysis, problem synthesis, problem solution. I think that is what industry wants, that is what everyone wants. I think that characteristic has to be developed amongst the students. How do you recognize a problem? Now, if you are going to a railway station and find that in a platform there are problems, I think I should be able to identify what is going on there and how I can, as an engineer, analytically will find out what is that challenge which is existing at that point in time and how do I solve that. Whether it is bus stand, railway station, aircraft, airplane, anywhere, or on the street as well. I think that is a fundamental thing as far as the investigation of the problem, the analysis of the problem, critical thinking which we are talking about, then we will be able to create a solution. But that solution cannot come in one go. And that's why what is known as design thinking is also important. So one of the parameters is, how do we create students to be design thinkers? And it is from small aspects. You give some paper and a knife or something and say that you design something. So the creativity of a student in terms of articulating the knowledge in terms of some kind of a gadget is also very, very important in terms of very cheap products. I remember one of the IIT Kanpur old-time graduates who worked in telco, and today he is a famous man who is called as Toy Man. You know, he was awarded Padma Shri. You all know Arvind Gupta, who lives in Pune, and he has dedicated his entire life after a couple of years in telco. Then now it is Tata Motors. He left his job and he dedicated his whole life. Very, very low cost toys. From the waste chapel, from the tube, tire, he has developed scientific principles. You can give it to high school students, college students, no cost, 5 rupees, 10 rupees, a great experiment and great learning. How we can make design thinking and adopt that in terms of, I know Dr. Dixit also does a lot of things in the workshop and gives challenging statements to students and they come out with some solution. It is not necessary that always the faculty member gives a solution. Many times students also are capable of giving solution. I think that design thinking is to be embedded. Then many new tools which are coming, new softwares emerge, new computer language will come. New, I think in terms of whether it is engine in mechanical engineering or turbo machine, too, in electronic circuit, different kinds of TI will come out with a different circuit. You will have to adapt to that. You have to learn that, and therefore, continuously, that lifelong learning. I am again connecting that in the classroom, whether it was there or not. I must be able to read from the internet, and based on my foundational knowledge, where and how it can be applied. That is what is the real learning. Then comes the communication skills, and communication skills means many times we mistake it for oral skills, that I am able to effectively talk 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 1 hour and I am a good communicator. Yes, you are a good communicator. That's only one part of the communication skills. The second part is very important, writing skills, our project report, our answer papers, and the questions that we answer. Are we able to communicate what we know effectively in terms of writing? The third one is equally important, reading. It is not necessary that only communication is one way. Communication is always two way. That's what has to happen in the classroom. Dr. Bora rightly said, the classroom is a place where there is a lot of debate, discussion, interaction between students and teachers. Therefore, there is a other part of it, and that is reading skills. So we must be able to read full book sometimes. Because I'm telling you, in the professional life, there will be 3 meetings in a day from different companies. We are on the board of directors, and 200-page agenda will come, and you have to attend that meeting for about half an hour and give your comments. How do you read that 200-page document in 1 hour? I think you have to learn to skip the pages and take and bring out the most important valid point out of that and raise questions rightly in the meeting. So that is reading skill. And the last one is listening skill is also important, not only in the classroom, for the heads of the department and members of the faculty, from the students, for the principal, from the HODs and the faculty member. I think many times we are tempted, as soon as 1 sentence or 2 sentences is spoken, we start telling that I know what you want to tell and start giving the answer to that. Well, please understand that he has some spirit behind what he wants to say. Listen carefully, understand that, and then start talking about. And this is our bad habit, right from the students to the highest level. So we are all tempted to do that, but I think this is one thing which we have to keep understanding, that we have to listen to the other person, and that is also a communication skill. Comes to professionalism, I think for doctors there is an oath which they take, and then they follow that in their life. Otherwise, the IMC will debar them from being the member of the medical practice, and therefore they cannot practice. Same is with law. Engineers also do take oath at the end of the convocation. You know, on the convocation day, I know all the institutions have an oath which students take, that I will be honest in. But I think that has to be brought into practice. Ethics, values, honesty, integrity. It's very good to say while speaking, but actually while practicing, it's very difficult. How do we inculcate those in the students? And that attribute is very important, that they learn from teachers. They learn from the HOD. Because there may be 100 faculty. Even if there are 5 faculty who are very honest and high level of integrity they are maintaining, students take their examples and practice it, and not the remaining 95. So our students always capture certainly good things, but we must have at least 5 out of 100. I think that is another important feature. And if all 100 are good, I think hats off, our education system get transformed. Forget about whether new education policy comes or not. But I think that is very, very important for all of us. And connectivity with society and environment, you know, that is also equally important today in terms of sustainable development goals, which are there 17 in number. We have to be part of the whole ecosystem of the world, whether taking care of the environment, also society, the sympathy, empathy, which we require to have amongst our own citizenry. Good citizens have to be created. All of that is part of the value system that we need to create. And of course, finally, management and economics, that also we need to learn. I think these are the 12 attributes. For acquiring them, you require both hard skills, soft skills. Industry may be interested in getting them employed on the day one. Certainly, yes. But what are common things? For example, as I said, life skills, soft skills, teamwork, individual and the society, the concern for environment, design thinking, continuous learning, lifelong learning. I think this is what is to be certainly trained in the colleges. But if some new technology comes, a student should be confident to tell his boss that I have not learned, this was not there during the time when I graduated. Now it is 5 years long. Give me 10 days time, I will go to internet, I will search the book, I will study it, and I will master it, and I will solve the problem in the next 10-15 days. I think that confidence building is important, and that is what is important in the outcome-based education, because these are the capabilities, these are the competencies, these are the holistic way of looking at the education. I think this is what is to be generated from amongst our students. And Dr. Dixit has rightly pointed out role of ITIs, role of our polytechnics and engineering. But in new education policy, how is it going to be shaped? There are some question marks, there are many doubts in the minds of people, because our primary education is changing from 10+2 system to 5+3 plus 3+4, starting at the age of 3 itself instead of 6. But the end point, 12th standard of today is at the age of around 18. It is going to be at around 18 only, because after 3 they start for 15 years and that is 18 years. But there is no 10th standard. So I don't know whether after 8th standard they can go to ITI and then from there they will come to a diploma, or whether 10th standard intermittent exam will not be there, but still they can quit and come to a polytechnic, or they will come to polytechnic after completing 12 years of education. Maybe polytechnic curricula have to be designed. I think there are many question marks and which are ahead. We are deliberating continuously. And secondly, even in a graduate program of 4-year engineering or 4-year BA, BSc is talked about. There is no 3-year program for graduation. In the 4-year BA, BSc, BCom also, there are possibilities of exiting at the end of 2 years with a certificate, 3 years with a diploma, 4 years with a degree. So maybe in engineering also everyone will become come to the same type of an institution. If those who want to get out and then get into a job, they can go at the end of 2 years or 3 years after the 12th standards. Those who want to go for higher education will complete their graduation. Those who go out may come back again anytime. Earlier this was not allowed. Once you go out of the system, you are out of the system. I often give example of a snake and ladder game. Saap Sidi ka khel hota hai. You go on climbing by the ladder and suddenly the house where you go, if there is a snake head, you again fall down. तो ऐसे हम एक बार सिस्टम के बाहर गए, 3 साल का परीक्षा देके भी गए, तो they will say that if the maximum time that you are allowed to earn a degree is 6 years for a 4-year program. Now you went out for 3 years, you have not acquired degree, your registration cancelled, university rules, IIT rules, NIT rules. And then if he wants to come back, again start from scratch, from the first year. I think new policy has academic bank of credits. You earn those credits, keep in your stock, like in your bank, you have the balance, and you go out to another institution if you want, come back to the same institution, continue your studies and earn your degree. So lifelong learning also continues along with the normal institution as well. I think these are fundamental and fantastic things which are there. And I'm very happy that Nagaon Polytechnic has taken a lead. Dr. Talukdar, my compliments to you. Dr. Bora for supporting. Of course, AICT is always there because it is our role. AICT is mandated by the parliament to improve the quality of education, to see that they are all employable, they become entrepreneurs, they will develop the nation and also the whole world. We have a philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the whole world is one family. We also talk about Sarve Janaha Sukhino. We never say that I want to be happy, we want whole world to be happy. And that's why whether it is our student induction program, universal values program, whether it is in terms of examination reforms which are helping the outcome-based education and valuation of that, whether it is the student learning assessment program which we are launched, whether it is curriculum revision continuously being done, innovation, Smart India hackathons which are doing. Yesterday only we had toy hackathon launched because we import 90% of the toys from abroad. And we have so much capability. Toys do not require high-end manufacturing capability. But most of these are from outside. It is a 1.5 billion industry. And worldwide industry is 100 billion. Why we should import? In fact, we should export $10 billion of toys. So yesterday, Madam Smriti Irani and Dr. Ramesh Pokhriyal, our minister, both of them launched it. I think these are the things which we are trying to do. The government is very keen in developing this country. Dr. Dikshit ji, you are all aware that we are struggling every day in order to improve the quality of education. Thereby, our country will get benefited. Prime Minister often says many things, and Atmanirbhar Bharat is a small thing. But right from Swachh Abhiyan to the Make in India to Startup India to all of these missions are all geared up for development of the nation. I hope this is very useful. Thank you very much. I little bit overshot because that person anyway waiting for half an hour, so I let him wait another 20 minutes, I said. And I conclude here. Thank you very much, and permit me to quit so that the Doordarshan fellows who are with me, I will take them on. Okay, thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you so much for the encouraging and enriching speech.
Yeah.
I would now like to request Mr. Vinal Prasad Nath, HOD, IC, Mechanical Engineering Department, and a member of the organizing committee to offer the vote of thanks. Please, sir.
A very good morning to all of you. At the outset, I would like to offer my deep and sincere gratitude to Professor Anil D. Sahasrabuddhe Sir, Chairman AICT, New Delhi. Thank you so much, sir, for honoring the chair of chief guests in spite of all your busy schedule. Next, my sincere gratitude goes to all our esteemed guests of honor, keynote speaker Dr. Atul Bora Sir, Director of Technical Education, Assam, for his valuable speech. Dr. Pratap Singh Kakasao Desai, President ISD, New Delhi. Thanks to you, sir, for your sparing your valuable time on this occasion. Professor Umashankar Dixit, sir, Professor IIT Guwahati, for your valuable guidance right from the beginning of the program. Dr. Hitesh Tahbidar, Principal, Nalbari Polytechnic, for sharing his experience on NBA and OBA related activities. I am also sincerely thankful to Dr. Dilip Kumar Talukdar, Principal, Nagaon Polytechnic, for sharing the session, as well as Mr. Ranju Mahanta, HOD in charge Civil Engineering, Mr. Kulendra Chandra Boro, HOD Electrical Engineering Department, as well as Principal in charge of Udalguri Polytechnic, Vergaon, Assam, Mr. MP Nath, HOD in charge Mechanical Engineering, and Syed Hussain Azad, HOD in charge Computer Engineering Department, as well as the coordinator of the program, Mr. Raman Kumar Bharali, lecturer, selection grade of Nagaon Polytechnic for their kind presence and deliberations in this inaugural session. Last but not the least, my earnest gratitude goes to the distinguished participants from different states all over the country who have agreed to register themselves in the program to make it a success. Thank you all. Over to Ardhana ma'am for continuation of the program. Thank you again.